This is Chief.
Hi, this is Cheryl Gallant, your Conservative Member of Parliament for the riding of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke, Canada's natural water park. Trudeau's failures are piling up quickly, but he continues to enjoy the benefits of a paid-off press, more focused on comparing Canada's coronavirus response with the U.S. experience. Last time I was here in Ottawa, I told you about the 40 women and men of the Canadian Armed Forces who have tested positive for COVID-19 as a result of being deployed to long-term care homes. Today, we learn the only Canadian Forces personnel being tested are those showing symptoms. Despite everything the media is broadcasting about asymptomatic spread, Trudeau is ignoring his own warnings and putting our women and men in uniform at unnecessary risk, even while Premier Ford is pleading for more extensive testing. The fact of the matter is, even if people are tested every hour on the hour, someone with the virus may not be detected. The only way to be sure anyone has or has had the virus is through antibody testing, a procedure Health Canada is stalling on allowing. Testing only those showing symptoms exaggerates the overall rate of infection. Random sampling of the population is required. Again, the antibody testing would help with this, but it has not yet been approved. It's as though the Prime Minister is intentionally dragging out the ordeal. Why? Well, at the beginning of COVID-19, the Liberals tried to get unlimited power to spend, borrow, and raise taxes without parliamentary oversight or approval until December 2021. Now, that power grab was stopped in its tracks, but you know the old saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again. This time, with the help of the NDP, the Liberals succeeded in getting parliamentary oversight shut down until at least September of 2020. Soldiers are getting sick, but the Defense Committee cannot even meet to investigate. Canadian Forces personnel marched across Europe twice last century to defend parliamentary democracy. Now, Liberal and NDP backbench MPs won't even march across the floor of Parliament to defend the women and men in uniform. Absence of oversight spells corruption. An extra $6 billion being spent with no hearings? The perfect recipe for corruption. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. A number of you contacted me over a notice on your phones about the software update after we discussed it on last week's show. With the government's growing campaign to have contact tracers on people's phones, the industry committee brought in the privacy commissioner to listen to what he had to say. It turns out Trudeau has been going full steam ahead with his tracker plans even without consulting the privacy commissioner. Trudeau insists the app that tracks persons' whereabouts would be voluntary. That may not always be the case. The Emergencies Act grants the government extraordinary powers. Trudeau sought to invoke the Emergencies Act, but was stopped by the premiers, for now. He bought the NDP to shut down Parliament. He is not above buying the premiers with tied federal aid. I'm encouraging all Canadians concerned with the government using the phones of citizens to track their movements to visit my website at cherylgallant.com/Trudeau tracking app and co-sign a letter to the Privacy Commissioner to voice your concerns. It has been nearly a month since Bill Blair insulted firearm retailers, equating them to illegal arms dealers. His vicious personal attack on small business owners struggling through the pandemic was his poison cherry on top of a bankrupt cake. Imagine if the government declared romance novels illegal and told bookstore owners their entire stock was now worthless, then called them smut peddlers for good measure. It takes a special kind of cruel to bankrupt businesses, then call the owners criminals. It was the minister's cruelty which prompted me to post a petition I could present to Parliament in person. The petition calls on the Prime Minister to fire Bill Blair. Even without prompting, over 10,000 Canadians have signed the petition. The anger with Bill Blair is real, but Trudeau's arrogance blinds him to seeing what's really happening on the ground. The Prime Minister might not think being a buffoon is a firing offense, but misleading Parliament certainly is. What had initially caused Blair to lash out at small business owners was the suggestion that his regulations were so poorly prepared they had banned shotguns. When asked if his government was banning shotguns, Blair stood up, puffed out his chest, and implied that people stating shotguns would be banned were all a bunch of greedy, lying merchants of death. He continued to repeat those claims in his testimony sitting in the chamber. He even said it on May 14th, one day before the RCMP listed a shotgun as being prohibited under the minister's own order in council. At that point, the minister was either misleading the House of Commons or so inept he didn't even know what was happening in his own department. Be it malice or incompetence, the guy needs to go. That was on May 14th. The next day, shotguns were banned. A week later, the minister continued to say shotguns were not being banned. By then, the minister had testified before committee members 5 times that shotguns were not being banned, even after shotguns had actually been banned. It's clear the Minister of Public Safety has misled the House. This is a serious breach. When a Liberal Defence Minister misled the House of Commons in 2002, the Liberal Speaker ruled it was a prima facie case of contempt for Parliament and referred the matter to committee for review. The Liberals had a majority back then. They protected the Liberal minister. Blair does not have that protection. Trudeau cannot cover it up. Now, the NDP are feeling a lot of heat for selling off democracy. My hope is that even if the NDP and Bloc agree with the bad Liberal policy, they will not tolerate Liberals lying to their faces. Bill Blair has been a disaster. Trudeau should do the smart thing and shuffle Bill Blair out now. We know he won't do the right thing or even the smart thing. That's why we need to keep up the pressure. We've uploaded a paper version of the Fire Bill Blair petition. We had held off from paper petitions, and we do not want to encourage people to collect signatures outside of your household. So go to cherylgallant.com/firebillblair and download a copy today. Remember, it's always free postage to send mail to a member of Parliament. Keep up the fight, or the right of law-abiding citizens to own and use firearms won't be the only remaining freedom taken from us. Live from Ottawa, this is Cheryl Gallant, wishing you a good night. And P.S., please send those petitions back as soon as you can, so I can rise in the House of Commons as often as possible and keep the pressure on this government.
Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to present a petition signed by Canadians from the ridings of London West, London Fanshawe, and Guelph, including St. Catharines and Niagara Centre, Newmarket, Aurora, Mississauga, Lakeshore, and Mississauga Centre, Markham, Stouffville, King Vaughan, and Richmond Hill, Canada, Carleton, Orleans, and Kingston and the Islands, Nickel Belt, Kelowna Lake Country, and Mission, and Fraser Canyon, of Nepean, Ottawa Centre, and Ottawa West Nepean, Hamilton East, Stony Creek, and Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas, Essex, Windsor Tecumseh, and Windsor West, including the Bay of Quinte, Kingston and the Islands, and Cambridge. They call on the House of Commons to respect the rights of law-abiding firearms owners and reject the Prime Minister's plan to waste taxpayers' money studying a ban on guns that are already banned.
This is GNN.